WGXA News at 5:30. "22 years ago today, and it certainly changed America forever. September the 11th, 2001. You know, Amanda, a lot of people my age and just a little bit younger, they remember very well, and older, where they were that moment in history when it happened. I know that you were very young and a child at the time and hopefully shielded from it, but I remember waking up that morning and going downstairs. I was at my parents' house. I was off work that day, and my mother said, "Greg, a plane hit one of the towers, Twin Towers, and then another one." And I said, "I thought, Mama, you know, that couldn't be right. I said, you have to have something wrong there." And she goes, "Look on the TV right here." And it was there, and it truly was terrifying, and we lost so many people, and it changed America in so many ways.
And it's so sad to see that perspective. You know, I was telling some of our coworkers here at the station earlier, although I was very young at the time, my family and I actually lived in New York. And I don't exactly remember everything that transpired that day, but it's still something that lives within us so much. We still share the stories. And my mom was pregnant with my little brother, and my dad didn't come home that night. And just that fear of like, what's happening? What is going on? Where do we go from here? And it's just something that I think every year we also remember, because my extended family was living in New York at the time as well.
That had to be terrifying for you guys as well, and such a sad and somber day, and to remember the significance of it. Middle Georgia did remember, and we're about to tell you about that in just a moment.
We want to know what you think at home about the 9/11 remembrance. Do you think the significance of 9/11 has changed over the last 22 years? Yes or no? Let us know what you think by scanning the QR code on your screen.
Today, Americans reflect on where they were when the United States was attacked on September the 11th, 2001.
On this 22nd anniversary, there are about 75 million Americans who were born after 9/11. Atrell Nashar reports on the work being done to keep the memories of the victims alive.
The nation marking 22 years since the terrorist attacks that took the lives of nearly 3,000 people.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
The attacks traumatized millions and caused years of illness for many of the first responders and ordinary people who rushed toward danger to help at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Yearly rituals to honor and remember the victims held at those three sites Monday morning.
I'm especially moved to be here with the family members of those we lost, with the survivors of the attacks, and with the first responders.
For an entire generation of young Americans, 9/11 isn't a memory. It's a chapter in history they weren't alive yet to see.
We have 75 million Americans who have no living memory of the day.
Donna Gibson, executive director of Friends of Flight 93 National Memorial, says that's why her group is holding a National Day of Learning with the National Park Service to keep the story of 9/11 alive and relevant.
Hopefully, by learning about what happened on 9/11 and seeing that as bad as it was, we overcame it and we came out on the other end a strong America, I believe.
Teaching lessons, she says, of hope and heroism. This year, we once again saw many children participate in the readings of the names of the victims. It's a list that is still growing 22 years later. Using advanced DNA testing, just last week, officials were able to identify 2 more victims of the attacks, and another 43 names have been added to a list of New York first responders who've died of 9/11 related illness. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar.
For the younger generation, 9/11 is something they learn about rather than having experienced it.
Our Brianna Cook looks into how Middle Georgia students are learning about that fateful day 22 years ago. Brianna?
Greg and Amanda, several events were planned at Macon's First Presbyterian Day School to remember 9/11. It included the middle school students writing the names of each victim on the school's sidewalks.
The sidewalks of First Presbyterian Day School are filled with names written in chalk
to honor those who died on 9/11. FPD's middle school students spent their day writing the names of each person who lost their life 22 years ago when the Twin Towers came crashing down. Seth Graham is the dean of students at FPD. He says they wanted to do something to honor those who lost their lives.
We always try to commemorate and honor 9/11. One way we do that is the middle school classes will come out and we'll take every name, every victim of 9/11, and they'll draw those names on our sidewalks here to just kind of honor and commemorate.
Students and teachers discussed what happened on 9/11. Brennan Restpress is a 7th grader. He was born a decade after 9/11 happened. Today, he says he learned a lot about what happened.
And it affected a lot of people because a lot of people's families died in that tragedy. And it affected the whole country. We had to get more security for airlines and everything.
He says it was overwhelming to write and see so many names across the sidewalk.
It made me feel sad because it's that many people. For 3 periods, we have to write names down. There's that many people that died and that on that day.
Graham says it's important for the students to learn about it and keep the discussion going so the day is not forgotten among the younger generation.
None of them were born. Most of us teachers were probably in middle school or high school. Some may have already been teaching at that point. So for me, it's really important. So to see our students honor, the sacrifice of service members, police officers, firefighters, those people that day, it's something special. And as a service member, it just means a lot to me.
One person from Macon was killed in 9/11. He graduated from FPD. Greg and Amanda has his story as we continue our coverage of remembering 9/11. Reporting live in studio, Brianna Cook, WGXA News.
Thank you, Brianna. And today, as the nation honors those who fell in that deadly attack 22 years ago, we're remembering one of our own.
One particular death hitting close to home here in the mid-state. Cole Hogan was the sole death out of Middle Georgia.
Hogan was a U.S. soldier who served in the Army for more than 20 years until his dying during an attack on the Pentagon. The 1978 graduate of the First Presbyterian Day School was only 40 years old.
Hogan is buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Section 64 in the shadows of the Pentagon. In Macon, a 9/11 remembrance ceremony in the Public Safety Memorial Park at the intersection of Mulberry and 2nd Streets pays homage to the lives lost and the first responders who saved lives in the 2001 terrorist attack.
2,977 individuals, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters lost their life. And we're here to let them know today that we will never forget, and we're here to support you because their lives changed. All of our lives changed on 9/11, but particularly those that lost loved ones.
Roses were placed on the memorial by representatives from the fire department and sheriff's office as a symbol that Macon Bibb will never forget the sacrifices made by these individuals in service to the community. In Milledgeville, Georgia Military College marked its annual Patriot Day ceremony on Grant Parade Field. The ceremony was not just a tribute to the lives lost in the attacks, but the lives lost in the war on terror that followed. The ceremony was followed by cannon fire to mark the attacks on the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and Flight 93.
And in Dublin, the Carl Vinson VA Center led their own tribute. This ceremony began with a flag raising at the VA Police Department and was followed by a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Officials with the VA say the event is a chance for the community to come out to show veterans just how much we care for our heroes. And here's a look at what you at home have been telling us. We're asking you, do you think the significance of 9/11 has changed? Now, 50% of you say yes, 50% say no, evenly divided. We invite you to participate in our interactive poll by scanning the QR code on your screen.
Well, summer patterns continue. Heat, sometimes some storms, lots of humidity, same old, same old. So new week, same forecast.
New week, same forecast, Amanda. Chief Meteorologist Ryan Sinnott says that we're going to shake it up a bit come near the end of the week.
Absolutely. Towards the end of the week. Now, the next couple of days, it's still more of the same. Ominous looking clouds over Mercer University on our Wilson Bryant Heating Air Skycast network. A few of our weather wasps flying around up there on our camera this evening, but overall quiet and calm in spots. We are seeing widespread 90s. Check it out, though, for Forsyth. you're down to 75 degrees. That's because you've been dealing with a thunderstorm. Rain-cooled air is helping. And again, that's dropping down into northern portions of Crawford County as well as Bibb County. Elsewhere had a thunderstorm over in Washington County. That is pushing over towards the east. But that's about it. Just a handful of those afternoon showers and storms, including up in Hancock County. Planning out the rest of your evening, most of us stay dry. Temperatures will fall from the 90s into the 70s. Later this week, those temperatures will keep falling. I'll let you know how low they go in Maine weather.
Thank you, Ryan. And it's a great time to download the WGXA weather app. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen, and it goes straight to your smartphone or device. Ryan is back in less than 20 minutes. He'll have your 10-day forecast.
President Biden back on U.S. soil tonight after attending the G20 summit in India, followed by some productive meetings in Vietnam.
Despite coming home with a series of policy victories, some are focusing on his words more than his actions, as Christine Frizzell reports.
We have an opportunity to strengthen alliances around the world to maintain stability.
Stability, President Joe Biden says he's prioritized with a strengthening of ties. Vietnam's Communist Party leadership marking the beginning of a new era of cooperation with multiple deals on artificial intelligence, bringing semiconductor chip manufacturing plants to the region, and an $8 billion agreement for Vietnam Airlines to buy new planes from Boeing. A strategic alliance following many others with the Philippines, South Korea, and Japan, and literally rolling out the red carpet for India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. All countries which have one thing in common, they're neighbors with China.
I don't want to contain China. I just want to make sure we have a relationship with China that is on the up and up, squared away.
Despite that kinder than usual language toward China, leaders there do not appear to be happy, accusing the U.S. of operating under a, quote, Cold War mentality.
Still, even before returning to U.S. soil, a flurry of criticism for President Biden for going too easy on a country that continues its aggression in the South China Sea, spies on the U.S. and steals intellectual property, and mistreats ethnic minorities in its own country.
This was a wrong message to send. It was not one of deterrence. And once again, like with Afghanistan, he's projecting weakness, which will draw aggression.
Another wave of criticism stemming from this news conference.
Let's see, I'm just following my orders here.
President Biden appearing confused.
Staff, is there anybody haven't spoken to? No, I ain't calling on you.
Also stumbling in his speech.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Critics using it as yet another example to raise questions about President Biden's age, again diverting attention from the purpose of the trip. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's president tries to control people's mind. In an interview with CNN, Zelensky says Vladimir Putin does not have control of what's going on in his country. He tells the news outlet that a lot of Russians backed Yevgeny Prigozhin, an oligarch who led the Wagner Group, a state-funded private military company, and Zelensky says that support contributed to his death.
What he did, he killed him. But before he killed, he gave him promises. The territory of Belarus, gave him new locations, the Africa issues and businesses, a lot of different things.
Was an ally of President Vladimir Putin when they led a short-lived uprising in June. The Wagner Group leader died in August in a plane crash.
Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is reportedly on his way to Russia. South Korea media outlets are reporting a North Korean train carrying Kim has departed for Russia. Now, the report says Kim could possibly meet with President Putin as soon as Tuesday. This comes after U.S. officials said last week that North Korea and Russia were arranging a meeting between the two leaders.
Coming up, efforts continue in Morocco after almost 2,500 people died in Friday's massive 6.8 earthquake. A look at the recovery efforts and the countries providing aid after the break. A desperate search for survivors underway after a powerful earthquake hit Morocco late Friday, leveling remote mountain villages and killing thousands.
Alex Hogan brings us more.
As the search for survivors continues, bulldozers have been moving in to clear roads so rescuers can get through to remote mountain villages that were hit the hardest.
The road is cleared, but the stones fell again, as you can see, and then they reopened it in order for medical and food aid to reach the population.
Many roads remain blocked, though, cutting off access to areas still waiting for help and leaving villagers to dig with their hands to look for survivors. Most of the destruction and deaths have been in the high Atlas Mountains, where homes completely collapsed and roads filled up with debris. On Sunday, rescue teams from Spain and Qatar arrived in the popular tourist and economic hub of Marrakesh.
We came to search for survivors under the rubble, especially at this initial stage, and we hope to find people still trapped and alive after the earthquake. We brought 4 trained dogs to search for the bodies.
Meanwhile, Moroccan officials are pushing back against public criticism over the pace of the government's response. A senior official insists authorities' operations have been, quote, swift and effective. Still, many of the survivors of the earthquake are without power and without cell service. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
There are a variety of ways that you can help aid victims of the earthquake in Morocco, and here are some websites to visit. The Red Cross Morocco-based army is accepting an arm of it is donations for its disaster relief emergency fund. The U.S. nonprofit Global Giving is raising money to provide food, water, and medicine to survivors. World Central Kitchen is bringing food, water, and to victims using helicopters. Doctors Without Borders is now accepting donations as it deploys medical staffs. And other platforms such as GoFundMe, UNICEF, and Islamic Relief US are also raising money.
Again, a few storms across middle Georgia this evening. Our closest storm to us in Macon is going to be just to the north of downtown. That's where we're seeing a storm coming out of Bolingbroke right along 75 as well as 475. Some lightning with this as it approaches Lizella. Again, providing just a little bit of heat relief, and Forsyth temperatures are into the 70s. The rest of us still mainly into the 90s, but that's about it. We may have a few more thunderstorms pop up the next couple of hours, but that's what we have in middle Georgia right now. Muggy with daily storms. We can expect that the next 2 or 3 days. Cooler weather does arrive for the weekend. Now, don't break out the jackets yet. It's not going to be that big of a change, but it'll be noticeable. And the tropics remain very active. We've got 2 hurricanes now. Hurricane Lee, we've been talking about for several days, and Hurricane Margot just became a hurricane. It's been a tropical storm all weekend long. We'll keep an eye on that. Margot is no threat to land. Lee will make a run up towards New England by the weekend. That could be a close call for, say, Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and then we have a few tropical waves off towards the south and east we will keep an eye on. But again, no immediate threats to middle Georgia, and that's certainly some great news. Lee, it remains a Category 3 hurricane, which is a major hurricane, winds of 115 miles per hour. It'll be lifting off towards the north the next few days, getting very close to Bermuda. And again, by the weekend, within that cone of uncertainty, portions of the northeast U.S. could have a very windy and wet weekend from Hurricane Lee. Next few names up, we've made it to Margot, Nigel, Ophelia, and Philippe. That's what's next. Across middle Georgia this afternoon and evening, the storms will wind down. More storms at times tomorrow, but then this front drops into the state, and that'll provide better rain chances for Wednesday. Wednesday we'll have our highest rain chances this week, and as that front continues to push off towards the south, behind that drier air mass will settle into middle Georgia and that cooler air. Again, Wednesday, best rain chances. After that, pretty dry as we roll through the month of September. Again, next couple of hours, showers and storms will persist. Those will wind down tomorrow. Let's do it all over again. Afternoon showers and storms on the radar. And again, we'll do that on Wednesday with a little bit better coverage across middle Georgia. Highs tomorrow easily into the low 90s once again. 92 for Macon as well as Warner Robins. As we look at your 10-day forecast, 90 for Wednesday with those scattered storms. Upper 80s return by Thursday. Then for the weekend, lower humidity, slightly cooler temperatures falling into the mid to low 80s across much of middle Georgia. A few nights will even be in the upper 60s, or excuse me, lower 60s, maybe some upper 50s. And again, relatively dry. And your Harris's Body Shop Fishing Game forecast peaks multiple times in the good range tomorrow.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gary Thigpen, and I'm here today at the Humane Society of Houston County, and I am with Dee today. Look at this special, sweet baby we're going to tell you about right now that is up for adoption.
This is Stella. Stella actually just came in today. She's 9 years old. She was brought to us because the other dog in the family was attacking her. Don't really know a whole lot about her right now other than she's used to being groomed. She was just groomed yesterday. She's probably housebroken, and as you can tell, she's extremely sweet.
She is such a sweet baby. Look how sweet and calm, and look at this beautiful face. How can you look at Stella and not want to come adopt her? Now, Dee, if someone would like to adopt Stella, how would they go about doing that?
They have to go on our website and fill out the application. Do please allow 7 to 10 days business days because we're all volunteers and it does take a little while to get through everything.
All right, that's the
Surfing dogs of all different breeds make a splash at a charity surfathon at a California beach. Oh my God, how cute.
Adorable.
With tails wagging, some came to shore by themselves with a friend or with a human. Some even sported goggles, and more than 50 dogs showed off their surfing skills for charity. The pooches raised funds for orphan pets at the Helen Woodward Animal Center. The best in surf winners were Sugar in first place, Delilah in second place, and Guinness, oh, that's cute, in third place. How cute is that? As someone who tried surfing a few weeks ago, it was really hard. So hats off to all those dogs because it was really hard.
I know.
Look at the bulldog.
Ah, look at that.
How cute.
They're adorable. Now that would be more my speed of surfing, but I've fallen off the board many times myself. And our pals, our dog pals that can stay on the board, I am impressed, like you said.
It doesn't matter how many times you fall off, it's how many times you get back up.
I think about once or twice did it for me. That's about it.
I was trying to be nice.
You are. You good at surfing?
No, I've really never tried it because the Gulf's not good for surfing, so.
Well, that makes me feel better because I tried it in the Gulf. So I'm just going to say that's why
We don't have the waves like you do on the Atlantic
I love the
seaboard. or
Gulf.
Pacific.
It just hurts in California.
God.
I do not recommend. I mean, it was so much fun. I do recommend it, but you're gonna have a few bruises after.
That's going to do it for WGXA News at 5.
We invite you to join us at 6 on ABC 16.
Have an incredible and marvelous Monday evening, Middle Georgia.